So Vincenzo is the developer of BookML, keeps its upkeep. So over to Vincenzo. Thank you.
Okay, give me a moment to figure out what's happening on my computer. I'm in a bit of a strange situation. Apologies for not being there. I'm in France right now, and the complication was that my flight was delayed yesterday by 4 hours, so I haven't slept much. So please be kind if you see me struggling giving this presentation or anything. I'm doing this from the hotel room because I didn't have time to go to my actual office here. But yeah, let's see what happens. So my presentation is a bit of the opposite of what you've seen just now, in the sense that it's going to be actually very much hands-on. I want to show you how things really work, or don't work, maybe, I don't know, because I'm really going to do this in real time, which is well, it's a brave choice. Okay, so I'm going to talk about BookML. BookML is all about converting LaTeX as you have it to reasonable, nice, sometimes nice HTML. Okay, so let me move on here. I posted the link to this presentation in the chat. Okay, so what is BookML? Let's start from there. Is if you recognize those words, BookML is a sort of merge hybrid of Bookdown and LaTeX-ML. Okay, so Bookdown is an R Markdown package, more or less. Well, it's an R package that is about writing things in R Markdown and converting it to a sort of nice HTML page, which is shaped like this with these buttons here. And I can even show you the original Bookdown. If I open this link and I move to this tab, yes. So this is Bookdown, the plain version that you write in, for example, in RStudio, sort of predecessor of Quarto somehow. So that's the original, and you see similar buttons here. But BookML does, what BookML does is to instead use LaTeX-ML as the engine. LaTeX-ML is a public domain software, so it's somewhat more than open source, if you want, developed by a developer at the National Institute of Science and Technology in the US that converts LaTeX to HTML. It actually goes through an intermediate form that I will not talk about because you really don't need to know that. And LaTeX-ML is very flexible, sort of very powerful converter from LaTeX to HTML. Is what powers the current HTML preprints on Archive. Those are converted with LaTeX-ML as well. But the skin, sort of the theme, the template around it on Archive, of course, is different. It doesn't look like BookML at all. BookML is more oriented at higher education needs, let's say. Okay, so what does BookML do in this context? Okay, so the things that we try to do is first to automate all the steps. So the ideal scenario is that you just put your LaTeX files or whatever you have, your images, macros, whatever you put in, you stick it there, you run one command, or if you're using Overleaf, you press one button, which takes like 3 clicks to reach, but it's one button. And then you get your HTML output. Okay, it improves the accessibility of Bookdown, definitely. So one thing you can see immediately, some of you might have noticed this, especially on the projector, is that the contrast of these buttons is higher, because the default Bookdown template is some shortcomings like this, especially around contrast. But there are many things, and one thing I want to demo today is some new HTML attributes, ARIA attributes that are specifically to help screen readers understand the content on the page. This is definitely something that comes from BookML. It also does some other things that are nice for you. So if you have EPS and PDF figures, there's a unfortunately complicated way of transforming this to SVG automatically. It's another thing that, in theory, you don't need to do anything. Okay, it also sort of tries to align, because then the mathematical content on the page is going to be rendered by MathJax, okay, rather than by the browser. So MathJax is the same package that you just heard about in the previous presentation. It's about giving you better access to the mathematical content, and BookML gives you a bit of an extra edge in terms of getting LaTeXML and MathJax understand each other. It produces SCORM packages, and I will show you what they are. And this is exactly the problem you were just hearing about. HTML is just a folder of files. How do you deal with that? Well, in most VLEs, so that in Blackboard, in Canvas, and Moodle. Now, I never tried all of them myself, but everybody supports the same standard of SCORM, which is basically a zip package. And then you can use it as if it were a single file. Okay, just upload it, and you get the entire HTML page or multiple pages loaded as a single package. And there are other nice things. Okay, so let me show you some examples of what you get out, and then I will show you how to get those. Okay, and I'm going to stress these examples are all converted from LaTeX that has been not written specifically for being converted in with BookML, well, except one example. Okay, so you can reach the same examples from the link to the presentation that I sent you. Okay, well, the first one is Here I'm Cheating. This is a paper of mine. I was struggling to find something that was like with a Creative Commons license that I could just use. That wasn't too complicated. So this is a short paper, easy to convert. I was mindful of getting archive to produce reasonable HTML. So here I'm teaching, but you get the file, and there's a PDF embedded into my output. So if I click on the PDF, I get more or less this is the exact same PDF that you get from archive, because it's the same LaTeX code, okay, unmodified. So this PDF is exactly the same. Now, do I need to close this tab? How do I do this? Okay. But then the rest of the page is just the content of the paper, but rendered in HTML. All the formulas here are rendered via MathJax. So you will see here, I just managed to jump to MathJax 4. So I'm proud to say I beat Quarto on speed, but there was not, unfortunately, not just a matter of switching the version number. There were some complications there, but it works now well. And then everything else in the page is just HTML, and you have some accessibility features that are provided by Bookdown. So you can change the font size on the page directly. Of course, this being a browser, I can also just zoom with the browser itself, change the font size of the browser. I can change font. Maybe I should zoom in, because I'm remembering now that you're seeing this on the projector, so it's going to be quite tiny for you. And I have some color options. Okay, definitely not as much as the options you get with Kairan, for example. So it's not as powerful as Kairan from that point of view. But you do get some range. And then, of course, if your computer is set up to use different colors, those should be applied to the page. Okay, so being HTML, all the accessibility technology, all the assistive technologies that you have already on a computer, on a phone, or everywhere else, is going to be able to do something about it. I want to improve on that. I don't know how good Bookdown right now is with this, with something called For Scholars. That's a technical thing. Let's not go there now. Okay, so there was an example of me cheating, of just taking a file that I knew it would work. Then I found finally something online that is Creative Commons that I could recompile. There's a Milner's note of Fields-Gara theory, published as a book, but a draft of the book is available with a Creative Commons license. So that was fine to use. And also it was not too complicated, in the sense that Milne was not trying to be fancy in creating a super complicated, graphically creative, interesting book. It's really just mathematical book with theorems and sections. So I just did the minimum possible to get this to compile, which was I had to replace the class from the memory class, which is not supported by LaTeX with the book class. And more or less, that was it. There was another small thing I had to do because and I will maybe explain this later, or you will discover this during the exercises. But that was it. The file compiled, not perfectly. Okay, so there are some. These are commands that come from the memory class, and because LaTeX doesn't support it, the moment I swap it with the book class, now these commands don't do anything, and they're not recognized. So there are some error messages there. What is it? 6. So I could just simply remove those commands, and I wouldn't have any of that anywhere. And yeah, and the file looks fine. It's not perfectly identical to the PDF because the section numbering is wrong because of those commands, but these are small. The point is that these are small things that are easy to fix if you really want to have a particular numbering. It's just that, well, you have to use just LaTeX instead of the memory class to do that. Okay, so you see statements, the formulas are rendered with matrix 4, and that's it, right? I mean, so the theory is for many files, many things you might have already, you just take them, you shove them in BookML, and yeah, many times this is just going to work, okay? And you're going to get this kind of file. And maybe I will make one comment about this, specific about this file. Let me go back to the starting page. LaTeX has LaTeX-ML has a very interesting way of handling TIX figures. So these are TIX commutative diagrams. You might think there's something slightly wonky about that. I don't know how how sensitive you are to this. There's some slight misalignments. These are happening because these formulas are also rendered by mathjux. Okay, so this picture here is not really a picture. It's something else. This is technically speaking an SVG that is embedded into the HTML, but the SVG contains other HTML inside. So this content here is, at least the formulas here are actually readable by a screen reader. Okay. Now, of course, there is nothing to help you understand if you're visually impaired, if you're not actually seeing the screen and trying to understand what's going on. There is nothing to help you understand that this is diamond with certain arrows. Okay, so you just get content just sort of come out of your speaker saying there's a formula, there's an N, there's an H without structure. So okay, so this is a strange thing happening. You can bypass that, and most of the times you want to do this and rather add an alternative text to this image. But it's another thing where I hope to maybe do some work in the future and sort of make this kind of diagram accessible as well, like embedding enough information to say this is at the top of the figure. There are 2 arrows coming out, going in this direction, this direction. But that's a dream, right? This is not something that is happening now. Okay, so that's another example. Close it. I quickly also tried to do the Chiron sample course. And now this one was a bit more complicated because there were some Chiron specific commands to embed videos. But I just wanted to show you that you can embed videos even when using LaTeX. It's not going to be anything. It's not going to be as fancy as Quarto. It doesn't give you the kind of interactivity that you can. But it's certainly enough, for example, to embed small iframes. And for example, I'm taking this from the Chiron sample. You can embed a numbers exercise. I don't know if I did this right. Sort of improvise this just by thinking this is probably what you want. I'm sure that there's going to be a better way of doing this. And there are videos here. And again, I will show you in a moment how to do this how to do this in practice. So my claim is that it's not too complicated. You can disagree with me when you see that, but it's reasonable. Okay, and there are these nice examples in the wild. So how much time? Okay. So I get back to this one specifically because it's a really nice one when it comes to going the extra mile for accessibility and for visually impaired readers. Okay, so let me now close this page. So this was all about showing you examples. And well, no, maybe there is one other example that I want to show. Oh, I changed the zoom on the page. One final example I want to show you is just one of my modules, because I mentioned this SCORM package thing. Before I show you what it is, I want to show you how it looks like when you use it. So this is my number theory course. There's nothing sensitive around here, so I can just show you how the module itself is done. Okay, so my lecture notes are uploaded just as HTML files directly. I had to create headings here by hand, one by one. It wasn't strictly necessary, but I thought it was better for the students. And if I open a page, you will see, again, this is BookML. You can recognize now the buttons here. There are some PDF versions of the file that you can download. You can also make multiple ones. And so for these lecture notes, of course, I'm the developer, so I can do whatever I want. And I somehow managed to create this sort of framed version of the definitions and lemmas and theorems, which is definitely something that I do recommend. Like the students really liked it. It makes it easier to just revise to see where the information is. The difficult part is really making this happen in LaTeX, much more than making this happen in HTML. Although if you use a standard thing, like there's a package called framed and theorem that are supported natively by LaTeX-ML, and they can do something like this. Okay, and I have exercises where the solution is here, but it's hidden by default, and you can just open it. And now this is something easy to do. So this is something you will see if you, well, maybe you'll see something now if I don't run over time. And definitely I left exercises for the workshop later to do with all these kind of examples. Okay. Now instead for the exercises for the number theory course, right? For the actual exercise, the exercise sheets, these are just very small files where it's much easier to just use this SCORM package. And now the first one here is a SCORM package, okay? And as I said, it behaves like a single file, okay? It's pretty much like uploading a single file, a single PDF to your VLE. You can upload a SCORM file in this way. At least on Blackboard, it really works like that. And when you open it, there you go. Embedded in the VLE, you get your page with the content. You have the same functionality here. You know, this is just the HTML page that you will get on its own. It's just that now this is embedded into the VLE. And this file can be made of multiple pages. Okay, it can be split by section, like my lecture notes, and SCORM can handle that. It doesn't have to be a single page. And this really made our life easier in Leeds because uploading HTML to VLEs, I'm sure that some people in the audience know the pains of all the ways it can go wrong. But this one is a nice thing to have. Okay, right. So now, how do you do all of this? How do we actually do all of this? And you can do this in more or less 3 ways. Okay, and right now, because I'm actually speaking for quite some time, I will show you only the overleaf way because it's really the easiest one to use, the easiest system to use if you have a paid overleaf subscription. If you don't have an overleaf subscription, you can either use GitHub directly if you know how to do this, or something which is always popular. You can just run everything locally on a computer. It's a bit of a mess to install the software, and it's not too hard, but somehow it's a bit of a chore. But if you start from Overleaf, that's certainly very, very easy. So let me show you that. Okay, there's a template on Overleaf. So you just search for BookML, and there's a template here. And yeah, let's see what happens. Let's open it as a template. And let's wait, I guess. Right. Okay, can you see the page? Maybe I should zoom in a little. And also I should bring Teams up on my other screen so I see your reactions. Okay, so this is the template. The template is really bare bone. It just has a few instructions about how you're supposed to use this with, especially with Overleaf. It doesn't tell you much. So this is a text file. Okay, AMS article because I like it. Babel, used in a certain way. Hyperref, I don't know. And then at some point, I do import this BookML package in this way, because that gives me access to a few commands that I want to use to enhance the output. You don't actually need to do that, right? You might just take a text file you have and just use it as it is. And then the rest is a standard, it's a normal LaTeX document. You begin document, you have enumerate to make lists, start a section. Okay, now how do I use this? How do I make this? How do I compile this? Now, I can't do this in Overleaf. Overleaf will not run LaTeX for me. But I need to go to these integrations and synchronize this with the GitHub repository. Okay, and that's the thing where you need a paid subscription on Overleaf, because otherwise this functionality is gated behind the paid subscription. Now, in the interest of time, I will do one tweak right away. Okay, in this folder. So this is the first thing you need to actually do, which is to rename this file to just.github. There's a technical reason why it works like that. It's a security measure on behalf of Overleaf. Like, they don't just let you run anything you want on GitHub without looking. So you need to. Anyway, don't think about it. Trust the instructions that you need to rename this file. I'm going to change this to small to make the compilation faster. And I'm going to go here, and I will start synchronizing this with a GitHub repository. Okay, I need to choose a name without spaces. Okay, so I do this and create. Now let's wait for a moment. Okay, and this is the joy of running a live demo. I'm now dependent on all the servers to work in the way that we want.
While we wait, I'll
Yes.
just mention that so you do need a paid GitHub account. However, if you work in a university, you can get whatever upgrades you need for free by signing up for GitHub education benefits, something like that. That's free. You just need to show that you have a .ac.uk email address, essentially.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And no, to be more precise, you don't need a paid GitHub account. Although you do get like more minutes, for example, if you do this GitHub education, if you enter this GitHub education program, which you can just do by being staff at the university. Okay. And now the joy of doing a live demo is that nothing's happening. Oh, success. Aha. Okay, I was expecting a number dot appearing here, but somehow maybe my computer wasn't keeping up with what was happening on the page. So after compilation, suddenly there is this release, successful thing appearing, and this is my initial Overleaf import. So what happened is that the moment the files went on GitHub, GitHub started compiling the files, and it created this release, and this release contains my two zip files. One is the plain HTML version of the output, and the other one is this Scorn package. So I'll download this Scorn package and upload it on my VLE, and okay, I still have it open. So give me a second to sort out details, make sure that I'm not showing anything problematic on my screen, because this is my actual module. Okay, so what do I do? I do create Scorn package, upload, and let's see what happens here. Scorn template, and there you go. BookML template, due date. What's that? Oh wait, this is not something I want to grade. So I just delete that, and okay, fine. Now this looks plain. There's a description here which is already filled out. I save, and that's it. I have my file. I have my template compiled to HTML, available with PDF versions available as well, in case people want to download the file offline, and that's it. Okay. And now the theory, of course, I have to be honest and say the theory is that you just throw your latest files into the system, and what will come out is more or less what you want. Okay, so now let me close this. Now a nice thing is, if you follow the instructions carefully when you set up your repository, you will also get an email every time the compilation is successful, because sometimes it will take a few minutes. So you get an email, the email will have the same all the warning and error messages that might have come out of during compilation in the email in this format, and then you will have link to download, and the email will contain the links to download these files directly. So yeah, that's as easy and as straightforward as we could make it. If somebody has suggestions to make it even more straightforward, I'm all ears. So to make it just easier to just use. Okay, so that's how you can use it on. I closed everything. Yeah, I said I was a bit sleep deprived, and so this is what happens. Okay, let me put this up again. Zoom. Right. Okay, you can also run it locally, and yeah, but I really should stop here. But maybe I will just show you one quick screen of what happens when you write locally, just to give a feeling of what would happen. I do have the template. Okay, so I'm going to do this in the terminal. Okay, so this is the template just expanded in a local folder, and so this is a Windows machine. What if I do? The first thing I recommend doing is just doing this detect phase around Gmake. I ask it to tell me whether I do have all the software installed or not. Okay, and on Windows this is particularly slow, unfortunately, but that's not my fault. And certainly that's not on me, this one here. So yeah, so it's checking. I do have, so this is the version of BookML in the template 0.28.5. It recognizes that this file is in the folder and needs to be compiled. It checks yes, LaTeX ML is present, this version, and then all these optional packages, which you probably want to have for certain additional functionality. Okay, and then to compile the files, I just run Gmake. And because it knows that the file that needs to be compiled is this template.tech, it will go with that. Okay, and we start doing, first it compiles it to PDF using LaTeX, and then again, if you wait, because my computer it does what it can, it will compile. Yeah, now LaTeX ML is running, and at some point the HTML will come out and the Scorn packages and everything, but just running locally on the machine. Okay, so yeah, a final very final comments, but I think I don't need to make them. Why you should use LaTeX BookML? I would say if you want to keep using LaTeX, so if you're like me and you really want to use like new theorem in the way the AMS set it up, not even Nutbuster, I really want that style of theorems, or you have lots of content in LaTeX and you don't feel like you want to rewrite all of that in some other format. Or if you just, and also I think that this is a point to be made. If you just value the longevity of the format, yes, LaTeX has packages that change in time, but the core format has been the same for decades. So you can take an old file and more or less it will keep working today, unless you use, fancy packages, of course. But this is just my slight worry when people use Markdown, etc., that you have to think, for how long is this tool going to be supported? You could say the same about BookML, definitely, but at least the file you have is still LaTeX. Okay, and now that LaTeX can produce stuck PDFs, you can switch to that right away if you don't want to use BookML anymore, for example. Okay, but then of course, if you want more interactivity, you want interaction with Python, R, etc., then of course, Quarto is definitely probably a more sensible choice for that. All right, sorry for going over time too. I thought it would be, this would be shorter. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the clapping got noise suppressed, unfortunately, but there was a lot of it. Right. So we have a 30-minute scheduled break, which is quite generous. However, Vincenzo, since you won't be able to come back this afternoon, and we have Robert, who I don't know where he is, but thank you for tutoring the session. Can I suggest that if you're able to stay for maybe 5 more minutes, so that if people have questions for Vincenzo just now, they can ask just now?
Good by me, and I'll try reading all the things that happen in the chat. Wow.
Yeah, so there's questions in the chat.
Yeah, so I'll take my headphones off. So we had a question from Christiana, which was, are there any restrictions with using BookML to convert LaTeX Beamer slides?
Oh. Oh my God, yeah, yes. Yes, very much so. So LaTeX ML has rudimentary support for Beamer. Okay, so if you have very basic Beamer slides, they will become a BookML file. Okay, they will not become a presentation. They will just become like a paper, an article. It will not understand. No, I think it does understand transitions just a bit. And yeah, but it will strip out any kind of formatting or anything, so it will not work like slides. The output you get. I did have at some point a prototype for really generating slides out of Beamer, but it goes too low level in LaTeX ML, and then it's basically the answer is no. Although I think Charlotte will probably present, probably has some examples to show at some point, like how you can massage your Beamer files to make them a bit more compatible, and at least you have some HTML version out of it. And that's the biggest limitation. So you really pointed the finger at the biggest weakness of this setup.
Yeah, I can share some of that if we have time at some point this afternoon. But in Edinburgh, we've been using BookML and trying to come up with some workarounds, admittedly quite hacky workarounds. But we have managed to make some kind of slide that looks essentially like what you've been presenting, Vincenzo. Yeah, with a little bit of hacking around, if your slides aren't too laid out in a fancy way, it's possible to do some things.
We also had a question from Emma about whether offline SCORM players exist that work with BookML SCORM output.
No, I know that offline SCORM is a thing that exists, but every time I try to do anything, it feels like there's a button that says make it available offline, and then nothing happens. And yeah, so I do have, I keep promising this, I think, in chats and this kind of meetings, that I will add offline support to BookML, because now web pages can work offline if they're set up in a certain way. And this is certainly technically possible. Yeah, but somehow it's just me doing this. And yeah, so right now, no, it wouldn't work offline.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think,
Yep.
yeah, maybe I think I spotted something in the chat about MassJax requiring a web connection. That wouldn't be an issue if I get around to implementing the offline functionality, for example. So yeah, it is potentially in the future. This will be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the talk. I didn't realize there was such a way to do tick stuff at all. So this is really cool. And I use commutative diagrams all the time, so anything more would be amazing. And of course, because you say like it's not complete, do you know like the best way to, like if I wanted to put a commutative diagram in there, obviously I'd need to do something more currently to make it fully accessible with a screen reader or something. Do you know the best like mitigations and next steps?
Yeah, so I would say the problem right now is that there is no, but at least I'm not aware of any sort of way of making an accessible, a commutative diagram accessible, right? In a sense, on the technical level, I know where you should be putting things in. You wouldn't be able to do this yourself. So this is something that needs to happen on the LaTeXML side of things. It has to be low level. The problem is you really have to. So there needs some design moment where you think, how do I present it to a screen reader? Okay, so I was thinking that probably make it feel like a table. That's probably going to be the best way to go. So everything has a row and a column, but then you need to announce in some way the arrows coming out of things. So this is a major project to make it happen. Somehow figure out what is a sensible approach, a sensible way of making this accessible to screen reader, and then go inside LaTeXML and develop the missing pieces to make, to surface the structure of the commutative diagram in the browser. So yeah, but yeah, unfortunately, that's not something you can just do. Unfortunately, right now, if you really want to make the commutative diagram accessible, you just stick an alternative description to it somehow, which is not very satisfying, unfortunately. It's a hard problem.
Thank you so much.